Hi, this is Dr. Pachenik. Today I'd like to talk about blood money and the miscreant behavior of a terrible, terrible family by the name of Sackler, Sackler. They all live in Greenwich, Connecticut. They came from Brooklyn Jewish heritage, very low class. The original father was Arthur Sackler, whom I knew a little bit about. Not too bright an individual, trained at Creedmoor State Hospital, was a psychiatrist, and developed the techniques to get people addicted to Valium and Librium. Keep that in mind, Valium and Librium. He subsequently donated his $100 million to the Sackler museums at the Smithsonian, at Chinese museums, all over the world. He put his name. And of course, that grandiosity didn't just stop with Arthur. It went on to Richard Sackler, who took over a company called Purdue. And in 1992, he developed over 400 to 800,000 addicts to OxyContin. Now, he went to the FDA and he said, look, OxyContin is not addictive. If anything, it's less addictive than anything else. He paid off physicians. He paid off state medical societies. He paid off the American Medical Society. He paid off everybody to make sure that over 2 million people in 2017 had been addicted to OxyContin. And of those 2 million, 800,000 were heroin addicts. And we also found out that Richard Sackler made sure that 4 out of 5 of those heroin addicts had been addicted to OxyContin. In short, this is a man and a family, all of whom lived in Greenwich, Connecticut, which originally was an anti-Semitic community because I trained there in 1968, and there weren't many Jews, if any. But the point was, this is a Jewish family that grew exceedingly wealthy to $38 billion on the calculated criminal activity of making sure that Americans and people around the world became addicted to OxyContin, knowing fully well that this would lead to heroin addiction and overdose and death. So as of 2019, we had 2 million addicts on OxyContin. We had 600,000 heroin addicts, 4 out of whom 5 were coming out of OxyContin, and hundreds of thousands of deaths. Now, how did he do this? He hired a group of representatives. He started with 300 and then increased it to 700. Then he told every one of his medical representatives that he wanted to make sure that they in turn forced the physician, psychiatrist, and anybody in a medical office to write prescriptions that ranged from 3.5 in number to 7.5 prescriptions per day for OxyContin. In short, this family, all 8 of them, were involved in what we would call a criminal activity or an act of terrorism. Collectively, the millions of people that they've had addicted to OxyContin and the hundreds of thousands who've died is equal to the number of people who died by Al-Qaeda, by Osama bin Laden, by PLO, PFLP, George Habash, and a whole group of other terrorists with whom I had to deal with. In short, this is an entity that's a terrorist medical company. And in fact, they haven't stopped because they went in and increased the amount of dosages, trying to convince the doctors paying them off here and there, everywhere, that they were not in trouble. In fact, Richard Sackler said the people who are addicted are in trouble or who died were miscreants. They were criminals, when in fact he knew he had created that addiction. Now, who else knew about this? The state of Kentucky, particularly Polk County, Kentucky, said, wow, we have a problem here of the number of overdoses and deaths, and we're going to sue Richard Sackler. And they sued him for $27 million. He confessed he was a criminal. He confessed he was in racketeering. In turn, he asked that all the information he provided had to be burnt and had to be sealed. So now the state of Massachusetts is going to indict the entire family for racketeering and criminal activities. I wish them the best of luck. I will say the following. For this poor Jewish family who grew out of greed and narcissism and criminal activities, Nietzsche was correct. When the gods are cruel, they will grant your wishes. But I, as a Jew who came out of Rambam, said that we will have you pay eye for an eye. That is the code of Hammurabi that's embedded within Judaism. Good night and goodbye.